I'm going to continue with my Grimm cluster cube with a little lapis help. This was not planned. I was thinking of doing the entire video in one shot, but I really like to take my time describing the cards and the reason why they're in the cube. And I just went on, and I found myself 15 minutes in and I wasn't even done. So this is the second part. This will all be in the same playlist. And in this part, I'm going to go through the fire and wind cards. And I think I also have the a few multicolored and I think a few also colorless cards at the end. This is all just the regular cards. I'm not talking about the rulers and I'm not talking about the wheel base. That'll be for a later work on this cube. This is very, very early days for this cube. And now I have a drink with me that'll help me with my voice. It was really going in the last video. Okay, so split heaven and earth. I only have one. I need to have more. In my opinion, this is one of the very best cards in the entire game. Why? Because almost everything you want to do in this game involves having multiple attributes in your deck. And in order to have those attributes work, you're going to need dual stones. You're going to need non-regular stones. This card is the card that will hit anybody for having what's called a greedy will base. It's called a greedy mana base in Magic. Deals 300 damage to each player for each special magic stone that he or she controls. I mean, this card is even better in a multiplayer setting. So it's each player. It includes you, by the way, and so you have to be a mono on a mono deck, like say in this case, definitely a mono fire deck. But I'm a huge fan of this card, and it comes out of NPR, which is a cheap box, January of 2019 when this is being filmed. Bloody Moon is your standard buffer from CMF for specific tribes. This one's for werewolves, gives +2/+2. When you banish it, you can destroy target special magic stone. That's actually a pretty good effect, especially if you draft and you don't draft enough werewolves. You can actually use it just for the destroying special magic stone effect. Then Gilderay is a flyer, which is not common in this cube right now. My flyers are really hurting. I don't have Purple Mist, and I don't have enough helper flyers from Alice. Because this is really part of a larger Grimm Alice mega build. This is only the Grimm part with a little help from Alice, but eventually, and I already have a completed Alice half, this half and that half get mated, and then I take it from there. Okay, it could end up being a bigger cube. It could end up being that I keep all the cards in it and look at the cube now as 48 packs instead of 24 packs of 16 cards each. This card is fantastic. It's playing to the fantasy theme, which I have a very small theme in here. It's also a dragon. I haven't really worked on the dragon theme on this half of the cube, but the Alice half of the cube does have a dragon theme. All right, so it's got swiftness and flying, which is fantastic. It's a 6-drop, so it's a little on the heavy side. Again, there has been some power creep in the game, and this is why I think this cube will only work for Grimm and Alice clusters together. Once you start putting in better and better flyers from Lapis, Rhea, New Valhalla, and later clusters, this card isn't that great. Okay? Gains +2 on the attack for each of your fire magic stones. It can get pretty big. When it's destroyed, you may banish 3 of your fire magic stones. Poor translation. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your field. So late game, if you're willing to do away with some magic stones, you can still get to play this card. I think it's fantastic. I want to have more. Luke Garou is here for a werewolf. Nothing really helps nightmares, even though I did make sure that I had a really good selection of nightmares. It's one of those tribes in this cube that it really needs a buff that says pick a tribe and do something nice for them. So I haven't really found a card that does that. So the nightmares are kind of here because they're here. But this card is here because it's a werewolf gives all your werewolves swiftness. That's wonderful. Whenever a werewolf you control attacks, this card deals 100 damage to an opponent. If you control a moon, wonderful effect. This card deals 200 damage. It's a very small clause that is actually very important in this cube. Thunder, I only have one. I could have more. For one, deals 500 damage to target player or J Resonator. It's kind of like the lightning bolt of this era of Force of Will. I want to have more. I only have one. Dragon King's Flame deals 600 damage to target player or Resonator. And it's got a J-Ruler clause that I will ignore. Kagua, it's only a 0-2. It's got First Strike, which you're not going to use most of the time. But you're always going to have something in your graveyard. So it gains +2/+2 for each spell in your graveyard. Only your graveyard. Granny is in here for some weird combo that I really like that's triggered from a Millennia of Ages card that I'll get to later in this video. I only have one. I started with a playset. It's a fairy tale human. I only have a gazillion fairy tale humans. It could be that when I make this cube double super mega cube, I want to put back the grannies that I took out. I think it's great because whenever a werewolf comes into a field, you swap attack and defense of this card until end of turn. So it goes from a 100, 1200 to a 1200, 100. You're going to lose it, but that's still pretty strong. That's a pretty strong attack. All right, Moon Knight Pouncer is here because it's a werewolf. And whenever you play a normal spell, this card gains First Strike and Swiftness. Normal, I think it's non-Resonator, if I understand it correctly. Wolf Hunted in Black Forest is here because it's a werewolf. When it's destroyed, if you don't control a moon, you lose 500 life. But you're going to be on moon. You're going to try to be on moon, and most of the time you draft this cube. Then the red car soldiers, I only put 2 of each because they're not nightmares. I just wanted to have more nightmares, even though I don't have a home for them. I may change my mind later on. So then let's see what the Diamond and Heart do. Diamond, when it's put into a graveyard from your field, deals 200 damage to target Resonator. That's not great. If damage will be dealt to a Queen of Hearts you control, it's dealt to this card instead. There's not enough Queen of Hearts in this draft, so that's why I only have 2 of each, and they may go out. I don't know. This is why I had a hard time getting to more than 10 card soldiers, is because, and it could be that I take it out. I take out the theme once the cube gets better, gets stronger, gets more cohesive. Beowulf is here as a werewolf. If this card would deal damage to your opponent or to a Resonator, it deals double that damage. So it's got, I guess, what we call double strike in Magic. I would put a weapon on it because it's only a +300. I had 2. I could put in more. I don't know. Not sure. Then the Black Goat is a Cthulhu. The fact that it's a minion is not that important here. With an activate of pay 1 fire, remove this card in your graveyard from the game. It deals 200 damage to target player or Resonator. That's a very low amount of damage for the effect, which happens in Grimm Cluster. Don't know how useful that is. There's only 3 in the cube. The Time Traveling Emissary, I started with a playset of 4, but I had more fire Resonators than I needed, and so I took the other 3 out. But it's part of the remove from game theme. So remove the top card of your main deck from the game. This card deals 200 damage to target Resonator, but what's more important is the keepers play with cards that you have removed from the game. And so that's why this card helps the keeper cycle. Poison Apple I really like. I have 3 because it can give +1000 to a Resonator. Even though at the end you have to destroy it, it'll take something out. It can win a game, I think, in the right circumstance. Crime and Punishment, one of the early X destroy spells. This card deals X damage to target J Resonator, where X is the damage it dealt this turn. Nice. It's only a 1-drop. Got reprinted in Vingolf 1. Then Ameno Habakiri, which is from Millennia of Ages, one of the best cards from Millennia of Ages, a buff of +4/+4, and whenever added Resonator deals damage to a Resonator your opponent controls, this card deals that much damage to that Resonator's controller. This is a great card, and it's a lowly common in Millennia of Ages. Once again, an example of how I think Millennia of Ages is a really good set. It just so happened to be overprinted into oblivion. Thuga, yet another one that's making my point, and the same with Fetal Movement. So Thuga is a Thulu. It's got an incarnation, so you banish a single fire Resonator, and you can just cast it. That's great. And it's got swiftness. Fetal Movement of In Outer World, a great title. It could have been a mistranslation, but it still sounds pretty cool. Remove all cards in target player's graveyard from the game. This card deals 100 damage to your opponent for each card removed this way. I want to have more of this card in the draft. It's just, I'm still working out my numbers, but this is one of those cards where I'm like, why don't I have like 10 of it in the cube? Ghost Flame deals 300 damage to target player or Resonator. Pretty good. And then you activate for 1 red. Put it from your graveyard into your hand. I have a bunch of this card. I only put in 2. Wormhole. When it enters your field, you may put a Resonator from your hand into your field. Okay, so that's good. This is an automatic drop. So you have a 10 drop in your hand. You can cast it with this, and it gains swiftness, and then you banish it. So it's a one-hit wonder. I think it's fantastic. And the 1X, put a Resonator with total X or less from your hand into your field. It's also good because it can be of any attribute, and it basically turns that into a colorless casting. It's a 5-drop. I only have 2 in the cube. It's a lowly common in Millennia of Ages, which is absurd. Again, Millennia of Ages has some really, really good cards. And I want to have more of it, but I still have to balance the cube in the future with, I just have to play the cube more to get to the point where it makes sense. It didn't make sense when I made this version of the cube. I want it to be that it makes more sense to put more wormholes into this cube. Then Memory of Disappearance and Torching the Timeline are part of the removal theme from the Moonlit Savior. Put target card from your removed area into your hand for 1. That's really good, especially if you're removing things from your deck. This card deals 100 damage to target Resonator for each card in your removed area. So 1-drop, instant destruction in red. It's very good. Blazing Metropolis. Fire, chance, and fire effectively instance sorceries. Fire, chance, and chant instance. Cards in your graveyard gain remnant. So really, this is really a lot like it's a 4-drop Snapcaster Mage for Force of Will. It landed in red. It's a fantastic card. I'm only putting 3 in here. I could put more. If a card would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, remove it from the game instead. So it's also like, and it's an addition, so it'll stay in the field. So it's got a little bit of the Necronomicon problem or constraint that once you drop this, you got to do something with it, but you can't do any more. And so if a card will be put into your graveyard from anywhere, remove it from the game instead. That's pretty good. That really shuts down all of your opponent's graveyards. It also shuts down yours, but you chose when to do it, and that's really important. Okay. Then Shub Niggurath is a Thulu with an incarnation cost of red and red or darkness instead of paying 4. Search your main deck for a card named Black Goat. I do have Black Goats in the draft. Put it into your field. Tap it. Banish 2 other Thulus, put target Thulu non-spell card from your graveyard into your field. So it's a reanimation trick. I think it's a good card. I want to play it. I only have 2. I could have more. I think I definitely want to crack a box of Moon Priestess Returns, which was the first set that I played with when I started into Force of Will. I started Force of Will when NPR came out. I could definitely crack another box of that set, and they're cheap, January 2019. Blazer is a Wanderer Dragon. It does not have flying, and that's a shame. It does have swiftness. Continues, if a card will be put into a graveyard from anywhere, remove it from the game instead. Shuts down graveyards. That's very good. It doesn't have flying. That's sad. I only have 1. I could have more. Beautiful card. Great effect. The Hound of Tyndalus. I also could have more. Thulu. Gains +2/+2 for each card named the Hound of Tyndalus in your graveyard. I only have 1. That clause doesn't get used. And in a draft, you're not going to use it, so it's meaningless here. When this card is put into a graveyard from your field, you may pay 1 fire. If you do, search your main deck for a card. See, I need more of this card. I just do. Beautiful card. I gotta crack a box of NPR. And a box of Millennia of Ages. Because I need more Susanoo. I had 3, 1 foil, but I wanted to keep the foil for my collection. Susanoo is another fantastic card from Millennia of Ages. It's a myth. And there are things preferring myths in Wind in Curse of the Frozen Casket. So it's got later things that you can do with it. It's got Pierce, which is really trample, and it's got swiftness. Fantastic. The continuous ability. This is a dragon hitter. If your opponent controls a dragon, you may pay. You don't have to pay the 3 fires. So it's a 3-drop colorless instead of a 3 plus 3 red. Fantastic. Enters, you may add a card Ame no Habakiri from your hand to this card. I have them in the cube. I don't know how common you're going to draft both of those cards. Drafting 2 different cards in a cube for one of these combos is nearly impossible, no matter how much you prefer them. Then Little Red is the card that goes with the Granny. Okay, and the apple. So, and again, it's from Millennia of Ages. I've got a ton of this card. I only put in 3 because it was a fairy tale human, and I didn't want to have more. I was already preferring fairy tales and humans enough. So for the Awakening of Red, enters your field, tutor for Granny, put it in the field. That's fantastic. Tap this card, discard apple, deals 1,000 damage to target Resonator. Also fantastic. So you basically get to cast the apple, and you don't lose anything. You don't lose the Resonator that I would have gone on. That's a great effect. The Keeper Cycle. I put 2 of each. I could up it to 3 of each once I get a 3rd copy of the secret rare of the future. Okay. So all keepers play with cards that you have removed from the game, either with the keepers or something else. Okay, so they all have, when this card enters your field, you may remove something. Okay, so in the secret rare one, the future, you remove the 2 top cards of your main deck. Okay, you remove the 2. You don't have a choice. The top 2 cards. With the past, you may remove up to 2 cards in your graveyard from the game. So future is from your main deck, past is from the graveyard. Very interesting and very good play on the name, because past is the graveyard, future is your main deck. Very interesting. Then the present, you may remove a card in your hand from the game, just 1 card. And if you do, draw a card. So that's great. You remove 1 card, you draw a card. Okay, back to the future, no pun intended. This card deals 100 damage multiplied by the combined total cost of the cards removed this way to target J Resonator. Past deals 200 damage multiplied by the combined total cost. So past deals more damage, twice as much as future. Okay, back to the future. As long as there are 10 or more cards in your remove area, this card gains +3/+3 and swiftness. Fantastic. Same clause is also on the pass, but instead of swiftness, you gain target attack. And I think target attack means that you can attack a rested resonator. Then, in the case of present, you also need the 10 or more cards in your removed area, but it gains +9/+9. All right, but it's already a very low casting card. It's only a 1/1/1 and first strike. So they're great. They're all great, and I think I would love to have, but I want to put them in equal numbers in the cube. I want to have either 3/3/3 or 4/4/4 or 5/5/5. Drake, I only have one. I need more. I have more. But it's a placeholder because I want to be able to put more flyers from Grimm. When Purple Mist comes in, I think Drake is going to go out. Okay, and Drake is covered in the Alice half of the cube, of the bigger cube. Athena, I only have two. I could have more. It's a great card. Has swiftness. Whenever damage is dealt to you, put 2 +100/100 counters on this card. That's fantastic. And for red, this card deals 100 damage to each player, and you can use more. So you can pump all your fire damage to blast all of your opponents, but it includes you. It's to each player. It includes you. You have to be careful. Okay, so finally we're down to to wind. I put in 2 Law of Silence for the broken layer and 3 Seeks also for the broken layer. So the total of broken cards is 12. 5 of them are these cards. I didn't want to have too many Law of Silence because it's a stop. It stops play. Target player cannot play normal spells and summon spells until end of turn. So it shuts down a player. We'll see how the mock play evolves and how I mock play the cube. It could be a card that I may need more of in the cube if I want to make it more swingy, or take it out if I don't want. I don't know. I'll think about it. Seeks is fantastic. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to have Crimson Girl as one of the rulers, so the clause of you can use all up to 4 is gone. You can only pick one. Target Resonator cannot be targeted by spells or abilities until end of turn. That's one of them. The other one is cancel target summon spell. Third one, Resonators you control gain +2 until end of turn. The fourth one is target player shuffles all magic stones from his or his graveyard into his or her magic stone deck, then shuffles all other cards from his or her graveyard into his or her main deck. That's really a great way to recover all the things that you've cast. So I happen to think that the fourth clause is the better one of the 4. Okay. Then for Cottage of Cakes, I just have one. I don't think I have the Hansel and Gretel, too many Hansels. I know I have Gretels, for sure. Hansel and Gretel you control cannot be targeted by spells or abilities. Gives them hexproof. Barrier, I think it's called, in Force of Will. Then deactivate with 1 wind, tap it, remove target Resonator you control from the game. Why would you do that? Banish this card. Return all Resonators removed from the game by this card into your field. It's a way to rescue something. You're about to get board wipe. You have a wind. You tap this. You save your most important Resonator. You remove it from the game. And then next turn, boom, you tap this again and you bring it back. I guess I could use more of this of Cottage of Cakes. Feet Sing and Melfi and Scheherazade are all from Millennia of Ages. All right, and they're all great, and I want more. I only have 4 Feet Sings, 1 Melfi, and 1 Scheherazade. I did not pull Bamboo Kaguya, so I definitely need to crack a box of MOA, Millennia of Ages, as crazy as that may seem. And Feet Sing is also an elf. Melfi is just an elf, and Scheherazade is a wanderer. They're busting my counts. All 3 are busting my counts, but they're all really good cards. Okay, so Feet Sing is one of the 6 sages. What do you do with the knowledge counters? Okay. Activate, remove a knowledge counter from this card. Cancel target spell unless its controller pays 1. That's good. That's a quick spell that slows down your opponent. If you have 5 knowledge counters on it, you can do it multiple times. That's really great. It's got a fat butt, 600, 1000. It doesn't fly, but it has quick cast. So it can be disruptive. The elf, Melfi. Melfi, of course, there are many Melfis in the game. This is just one of them. 2 recovered elves you control produce 1 will of any attribute. That's great. Then Scheherazade, a little heavier. Enter, choose a race. As long as you control this card, J Resonators of the chosen race cannot attack you. That's great. I mean, if your opponent is on a single race, they're in serious trouble unless they take this guy out. Then you activate for 2 win, tap it, remove target resonator from the game. That's really strong too. It's a 5-drop. I have a second one, and I may include it in the cube. Elvish Priest, you can never have enough of them. I have 4. Mana Dork, Will Dork, Fina, an elf. I have 3. It's got a ruler clause that I'm going to ignore. Each other elf you control gains +4/+4. Enough said. Dorothy, I only have 1. I could have more, but I'm not going to crack a box of tat for that because those are really expensive. Boxes of 2 towers are like 150 bucks. Whenever this card deals damage to your opponent, put the top card of your Magic Stone deck into your Magic Stone area. Fantastic. Okay, so you want it to deal damage. Even if it gets killed, you got 1 stone out of it, you're done. Awakening, reveal the top 5 cards of your main deck. And it goes with the Heartless Tin Man, Cowardly Lion combo and the Scarecrow, which I had originally in the cube. I took him out, and I may take out Dorothy because I don't like having a clause in the cube, so many clauses in the cube that don't work at all. And this clause doesn't work because I had to take those cards out. But I originally had them in the cube, but I think they're all fairy tales, and that's why I couldn't have them, because then I would have had like 10,000 fairy tales in the cube. So I think Dorothy's going to go out at some point. It's in for now. Reforth, Resonators you control gain +1/+1. It's a very small buff, but it's all Resonators you control. Banish it, give +4/+4 to a Resonator. That's not bad, I have 2 of them. Familiar of Holy Wind, which there's a Tama that comes in later. Comes in Lapis Cluster, I think, the starter decks. This is an early Tama. I have 3, I could have more. Enters, draw a card. Great. Banish, deal 300 to target Resonator. Can't hurt. Sinbad. Addition Resonator cards in your hand gain quick cast. That's fine. Continues, if you would draw a card in a phase other than draw phase, you may skip drawing it instead. When you skip drawing this card, choose 1. This card deals 300 damage to target Resonator. Target Resonator gains +4/+4, or destroy target addition. That's pretty good. I only have 1 Sinbad. I need to crack another box of MPR. Feith Sing. Again, I need to crack another box of MPR. An Elf 6 Sages with quick cast. Enter, prevents all damage from a target Resonator. And it's a Mana Dork. So you tap it, Will Dork. It gives you a will of any attribute. Any attribute, that's great. Absolute Cake Zone, I have a full playset. I could have had 10,000 of them. Cancel target normal spell. If you control Hansel or Gretel, draw a card for 2. What's not to like? Realm of Evolution, I took it down to 3 from 4. Fairy Tales are getting so much help in this cube already. I felt like it was going to be too much. So I only have 3, but it gives it +2/+2. And the Banish effect is search your main deck for a Fairy Tale Resonator, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your main deck. It's really strong. This is a great spell. It's only an uncommon, and it's a 2-drop. It's the better one of those cycles in the CMF tap sets. Yeah, it's a great card. Really is. Exceed, a cancel spell from MPR. Cancel target normal spell, and then if you control Feith Sing, draw a card. Not sure we're going to have Feith Sing in here, but either way, another cancel spell. That's wonderful. Morgiana, which used to be banned. I don't think it's banned anymore. I put in 2. Didn't want to put too many. I think the 2 Morgianas are part of the broken layer. I'm not sure. I forget exactly which cards, other than the obvious ones, I put in the broken layer. Continues. If you would draw a card in a phase other than the draw phase, you may look at the top 3 cards of your main deck, put 1 of them into your hand, the rest at the bottom of your deck. So it's a great way to filter whenever you draw outside of your main phase. your draw phase, I mean. Yeah. Then the Leaves of Yggdrasil, it's a great treasury item from Millennia of Ages. I have a ton of this card. Put in a playset. When added resonator is put into a graveyard from a field, put that resonator into its owner's field. That's fantastic. Okay, so you're going to lose the leaves, but you're going to be able to get that resonator back. I think that's a great effect. And that's why I put a playset in the cube. Wind Secluded Refuge and Wall of Wind. Didn't want to put too many, but I was able to put 3. All right. So cancel spells. They're just cancel spells of various different varieties. Okay. Then an elf that destroys target addition. I put in 2. An elf that destroys a vampire. I only put in 1. I put in 5 Grettles. Reveal the top card of your Magic Stone deck. If it's a Wind Magic Stone, put it into your Magic Stone area. One of the best cards in the entire game. A lowly uncommon in CMF. Guide of Heaven and Elf. I only have 1. Reveal the top card of your main deck. If it's an Elf Resonator, put it into your hand. You're not going to be able to draft as many Elves. That clause is way better in an Elf-focused, what's called constructed in Magic deck. Not good in draft. It's just there. The enter, however, search your main deck for an Elf Resonator. All you need to do is draft another Elf, and this is going to do it for you. Yeah, that's great. It's an Elf Tutor. Fantastic. I could have more. Ruck. This is, I guess, is where a Ruck Egg comes from. The bird is for the bird tutoring thing. It's a low flyer. It's in. Hansel and Gretel from Millennia of Ages, and also Bastet, the Green Thulu from Millennia of Ages. So Hansel and Gretel. Enter the field, draw a card, and put the top card of your Magic Stone deck into your Magic Stone area rested. Fantastic. It's all 4 specific wind, so it really has you on wind. Okay. Bastet. This card gains +1/+1 for each card in your opponent's graveyard. It's not designed for multiplayer. When you play it in a multiplayer cube, you're going to have to say in target opponent's graveyard or all of your opponent's graveyards, and your group is going to have to pick. You're just going to have to make a choice. The Moonbreeze Elf is here as a Moon Will Dork. Then the Servant is here with also a Moon ability, and it gets a fat butt. Then the Time Gazer Elf, when it enters your field or leaves your field for a non-field zone, draw a card. That's great. Then also it does Scry 3. For Moon, look at the top 3 cards of your main deck and put them back in any order. That's 4C3 or Scry 3. I only put in 2. I guess I could put in more. I don't know. I'd have to mess with my elf count. Okay, I'm finally down to the multicolor spells. Seal of Wind and Light, I put in 5 cancel spells. Space-Time Anomaly, I put in 4. It's a target removal, -5/-5, and you draw a card. Fantastic card. Apollo Break, I put in 1. Put target resonator on top of its owner's main deck. Disruptive. Then I put in Regalia, the colorless, 2 colorless cards because I needed some big critters. They may go away. So Maribels may go away. The Orb is here because I had one. It could go away. It plays with magic counters, and when you remove them, you draw a card. That's good. The broken card. I didn't put it in the broken layer though. Gerta, put in 2. I love the colors on this card. So remove a counter from a card you control. This card gains swiftness, flying, or target attack until end of turn. That's not bad. Then Maribel, it's a big critter for 5, 1200. It's got Pierce, which is really trample. For 1, rest another recovered resonator you control, and this card gains +X+Y. So it gains whatever that card has. That's good. More Regalia. The Excalibur 10. You as the player have effectively barrier. I'm not using that ruler, so none of that matters. So that's all it does in this deck. Hydromonica, tap it, put the top card of your main deck on the bottom of your main deck. So it's a way to filter the top of your card. Then you can tutor for something by paying 2 and tapping it. And then, there's only 1 in the queue, so it doesn't matter. The other clauses really matter. Then Apollo, which I could have more. I only have 1. Your J ruler against flying. You tap it, you produce moon mana, and you can only spend it on awakening cost, and of course Judgment of Cat's Heart, which you're not going to have. I'm not sure how many Kaguya's I'm going to have in this cube. Then you tap it, banish this card, return target resonator you control to its owner's hand. Yep. I think the big one is the flying and the production of moon. I need more. I also need more Flame of Outer World. I have 2. Deals 800 damage to target J resonator. Players cannot chase, so it cannot be countered. Then 1 Seth. Whenever your opponent discards a card, you draw a card. Really good. Whenever a resonator is put into a graveyard from your opponent's field, put target resonator from your graveyard into your hand. That's great. That's a really strong pair of effects. Now I'm going to briefly go over how I layered the cube. You can pause this, and if you ever build one of these, this will give you an idea of how I layer. So there are 16 layers. This first layer is all what I would call the weak layer for light. Okay, so these are all, there's not rares and secret rares in here, so it's just working cards. Second layer is where I put the stronger cards. Okay, and I'm just going to pause enough so you can pause and look at it. I'm not going to go in detail because you can see which card I put in which layers. Of course, they're randomly distributed. Then a weak layer, also in wind. In light. Another weak layer with where I put a lot of toolkit cards, so it's really a toolkit layer. Then a strong layer. This is where I put some of the broken cards. You'll see your Cheshire Cats in here. So you're seeing Seeks, Law of Silence. So this is where I put a lot of the broken cards. Then a weak water layer where I put all the were-rabbits. A lot of the were-rabbits went in here. And again, I think it's really important to spread the tribes. And so across all packs, you don't want a specific pack with 3 were-rabbits and then 3 other packs don't have any were-rabbits. So effectively, this is a were-rabbit and bird layer with the Kaguya for the treasuries also in here. Strong cards, mostly in darkness, but also a few multicolored and a few the lagging were-rabbits. A weak layer where I put all the card soldiers and the fantasies, and some were-rabbits and some vampires. Then another weak layer where I put more vampires and some toolkit cards and some Thulus. Then a strong layer where I put some of the additions, the Necronomicons, the target destruction, and the one forgotten broken card lower right. I forgot that card and I ended up putting it in another layer, but I was already done with the previous layer, so I just kept on going. Then another weak layer, mostly fire. Some of your fire card soldiers are in here, some Thulus, some werewolves. Another weak layer, this is where your apples went, where your removed from game cards went that are not the keepers. Then the keepers and Susanoo, some strong wind cards, mostly strong fire cards. Then your strong wind layer is in here. And I also landed some multicolor, and the Maribel and the Orb, the Regalia are in here. Then a weak wind layer, a toolkit layer, if you will. See yeah, okay. Then another weak wind layer. The elves are in here, the Gretels. I don't know if it's weak. It's not where the rares are. Okay, but it's got the Gretels in here, the elves, some rocks, and I'm done.